Hey guys, what's going on? Back again with another video. As you guys know, in the last few weeks and actually the last few years, I've been putting out a couple solves for some of these Easter eggs that you might be thinking, or I might be thinking, if it's an impossible Easter egg or not. We haven't gotten any confirmation from Treyarch yet, and we're kind of asking them 8 years later to give us some type of confirmation. So this is one that I myself, I'm not sure if it's a solve. But it's something that I want to put out there. It's kind of, I guess, I would say unsolved, or maybe the middle of the road being solved. I know a lot of YouTubers are reluctant to do that because what happens is when you have solved something, somebody else might come along, see it, figure it out, and not give you credit for it. So a lot of zombie YouTubers, they don't really talk too much about unsolved Easter eggs or maybe stuff that's partially solved, because it does happen where you again put in a lot of work, hours and hours of work, and it happens in any industry that you put in a lot of work and then somebody else comes in, solves it or figures something out and then takes all the credit for it. So I know a lot of uh, Easter egg solvers are kind of reluctant to do stuff like this. I'm okay with it because, like I said, I've definitely solved my fair share of Easter eggs, probably the most in the zombies community. I've solved the most Easter eggs, and I'm pretty happy where I'm at that point. Like I said, I'm putting this out there. Maybe somebody else will see something. I'm okay even if I don't get credit for it, but this is definitely something that nobody's talked about, or has been talked about recently. So with all that being said, as you guys know, the Group935 is the main group in our zombies story. It started out in Germany. I believe it was Maxis was the leader of 935, and Richtofen worked under him, was kind of like his apprentice, and they kind of worked on weapons and using element 115 to benefit Group 935 and the Germans. That's pretty much the backstory. You should know that it's pretty simple and basic. So with that being said, some people have figured this out throughout the years, even I think even going as far back as World at War, is that if you take the numbers 935 and translate it into the alphabet or alphanumerical, you get the word ice. So that's pretty common. People know that for probably over a decade now that um, you know 935 translates into ice, and there's a lot of ice theories out there. I off the top of my head, I don't know too many of them, but you'll see that this is probably the first time we've gotten some concrete evidence of maybe something that Treyarch was going down. I know Jimmy Zelensky got fired. Jason got, I guess, fired or left Treyarch. And a lot of these stories don't get finished. I know in Vanguard, they actually picked up some of the storylines from Black Ops 2 and continued it in Vanguard. Stuff that the zombie YouTubers won't know about probably for another couple years, maybe in the next game. But Vanguard actually finishes off a lot of stuff from, closed a lot of doors, I guess, if that's a saying, from Black Ops 2. So this again is maybe something we'll go down the road. Maybe they'll say, hey, remember that 935 ICE Easter egg? We never really dived into it. Jimmy started it back then, or Jason started it back then. We never finished it. So as you guys will see, in the top left-hand corner, we have element 115 crashing to Earth, and the only things that are blue are element 115 and the water on Earth. So is this Treyarch's way back then of saying element 115 is ice or represents ice? Because as you know, when ice melts, it turns to water. Maybe they're saying that, back then, or maybe it was a story that they started, that ice, and it's real too. It's stuff that happens in real science. Uh, Comets crash to Earth or collide with Earth back millions of years ago, I would say, and then the ice melts, and that's how life forms on each planet. So again, this is either a crazy tinfoil hat theory, or it's an idea that Treyarch started, was going to go down, but a lot of stuff changes. So as you guys see, and this is the scrap paper Easter egg from, I think, the Giant or Shadows of Evil, one of the two. Might actually be Shadows of Evil, or actually might have been the Giant, because this is going to show us all the DLCs. So is this what Treyarch was saying is element 115 is ice? Because when the ice gets spat from dimension to dimension or galaxy to the galaxy, um, it eventually ice. And this is real life stuff too. If a comet was to hit Mars, a big enough size that's not going to destroy Mars, or enough ice goes on Mars, or maybe even another planet, there through evolution, that ice is going to melt, and life is going to form inside the water. So is this what Treyarch was saying with 935, meaning ice, and then ice representing 115? It crashes to Earth, melts, and then through millions of years of evolution, or maybe the ice is contaminated with the zombie virus, or maybe the ice from another planet is more toxic to humans and life, and then it crashes to Earth and it melts. So that's something that I noticed that people have never talked about, and maybe somebody will figure something else out. Maybe there's more in the story. Maybe if you go back to World at War or Black Ops 1, we'll find out that maybe there's more with the ice theory that people haven't really mentioned. And as you guys know, it looks exactly like ice does. Icebergs and stuff like that. It looks exactly like it. Literally looks like ice. Or this is an iceberg. I know there's Siberia and Call of the Dead and Tag Your Toten. Ice is really important in that story. It was kind of where it started and it ended. Literally started and ended kind of almost the same place. So again, this could be something that they were going to venture down and never did. This is something that maybe is unsolved. Maybe it was the impossible Easter egg, because there's a lot of stuff that people have still never even noticed. I'm not going to go through the whole entire scrap paper. I'm just going to talk mostly about ice. Maybe it's saying that like they spat the ice onto all these other dimensions and no water ever formed. Now this one is maybe the most important because it actually formed water and it formed life. But again, we don't really know. I know, and this is probably an Easter egg. If you look at this one right here, this is exactly where the meteor crashed and destroyed the dinosaurs. It happened in the Gulf of Mexico, around that area. So maybe it's hinting like, hey, in this particular part, humans formed on Earth because I don't want to say Tunguska. It's not the Tunguska. It has another name. That meteor destroyed Earth and created life, and then humans pretty much demolished and were, destroying each other, destroying each other's countries. We were literally going neck to neck with each other. So this is probably another solve too, because it happened to dot right exactly where the meteor crashed and destroyed Earth, and then the dinosaurs and stuff like that. Now, as far as like any other Tunguska areas, I don't think there's anything there. That could be a coincidence, but it looks like that might be an Easter egg saying, hey, this was the, supposed to symbolize the one where, it crashed and destroyed the dinosaurs and Earth, because it crashed right at that spot. That's not a coincidence. Again, it could be representing ice, and maybe this is a different form of ice that, is toxic. Again, maybe it's just symbolizing it. Maybe it's not literally ice, but it's symbolizing that to have life on a planet, you need water. To get water, you need comets, which are, blocks of balls of ice, and it crashes to Earth, and then it creates life thousands and millions of years later. And the only other thing I wanted to point out, which it's kind of like a stretch, so I'm not gonna say it's a solve. Like I said, this is just kind of a theory at this point. If you look at the ice molecule on the left, 1, 2, 3, it's six-sided, I believe. Yeah, six-sided. I know the hexagon's kind of important inside the giant. People always wondered about that too. Why were the hexagons so important inside of the giant? But if you look at the 935 logo, could you say maybe kind of sort of represents a molecule? I know it's supposed to be like the nuclear symbol, and these are fingers. Whoops. Just in case you're not familiar, these are 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers, and this is the thumb down here, holding maybe the atom, and it's based on a real life symbol. So people are gonna comment like, you know, it's based on a real symbol from Germany, which I'm 100% aware of that, and I probably should have included it. But at the same time, it does kind of look like the ice molecule, and it also looks like a snowflake. Snowflake is very important inside of our story. Monty calls them snowflakes, and that could be the same thing, Primus and Ultimus, or maybe more Primus could symbolize, you know, ice going from planet to planet and destroying those planets and stuff like that, which I'm not going to go too much into that, you know, rabbit hole, but I think people get the idea that if you look at the 115 and you look at all the clues, this is blue, the water is blue, that maybe it crashed on this dimension or this version and it created life for zombies and humans, paralleling what happens in real life and real science. If you want to bring life to a planet, you're going to need water. That's why they're saying Mars might have it, because there's some frozen section of Mars that has ice on their caps, and if you create enough heat on Mars, you can melt the ice, and then eventually life is going to grow out of that water. So that's something that you might want to figure out or look into, do some more research. I'm going to leave it at that. And it could, I wanted to also include really quickly Atlantis and water and stuff like that. Maybe that's why that's important. But again, these are just some, maybe an unsolved Easter egg or something that we never noticed. I'll see you guys later.